Episode 9 is a series of poor choices. Every single scene, somebody is making the wrong choice, which is leading further and further and further down the rabbit hole of no recovery.
So for once in your life, do something right.
Who is Julia? Where did she come from? Again, she's an idea in the anime. She's a dramatic tool for the most part, well crafted in the anime, but in ours, I wanted more. And I wanted to see what actually put this person, who was a woman who was kind of our Helen of Troy, what put her into the position that she was in with Vicious? How did that happen? And what was this love triangle? And what was the animosity between Spike and Vicious? What made someone hate so dearly? Only true love could actually make that hate as real as it was. And to see these two brothers have this falling out over something, to me, only added to the final conflict between them that I really wanted context for. So we crafted the narrative of sort of their collective backstory together.
Well, I think as soon as we got the parts and started talking about them, we found out, excuse me, that there was going to be this whole flashback episode 9. And although we didn't have the script, we were told kind of, I guess in loose terms what that backstory was. And that was really, really helpful for us to then have lots of conversations trying to fill in some of those kind of blanks. I guess you want to do that because you want as much detail as possible and to be as emotionally invested as possible in the characters and in the relationships, so that when you get to the scenes when those things are fracturing and breaking down, you've really got some sort of stake in it all.
Finding that little bit of innocence in the relationship between Vicious and Julia, so it wasn't so black and white, that there was once a moment where maybe the connection was organic and real, and then that I feel like really, at least for me, it pays off when she's sending him off to what she thinks she's sending him off to die, and she goes up to him and she says, "I love you." In a way, I think she really means that, and it's earned because of episode 9, because we see a little bit of where they came from, and I thought that was really lovely.
I think the creation of Julia and the telling of that story, what I wanted to really achieve is allowing this character, this woman, to have the agency of her own freedom, to have the agency of resolving the problem that she was in rather than being saved. And through that process, hers is sort of a wild and Byzantine journey of how to really get herself out of the situation that she's in. And by doing so, inculcate herself further into sort of the violence and the chaos that is the syndicate. And by the end, really realizing I'm not the problem, you two guys are the problem. And in doing that, giving herself the agency to take full control, that was very exciting to me, to empower that character that way.
The journey of Julia, it's a really delicate one, and obviously you have to really walk a thin line between honoring what's there, but also crafting a new story that checks out in a way. So I think they were still writing those scenes, so every time I would go in, I would get some new material, and I started to really understand where they were going with it. And I remember one of my last, reads, I got given the cathedral scene, and I was like, what? This is wild. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
That episode was a very early idea of great bad guys are made by great villains. And I felt like we needed to really understand, I love a great villain, and I wanted to really understand who Vicious was and why Vicious was, and what all of that really meant, and where he came from, and what drove this incredible, you watch the anime, there's this incredible good versus evil component of the anime.
As someone who's spent a lot of time since getting the job really immersing oneself in the anime and becoming a fan of it, getting to recreate those shots, shot for shot, frame for frame in some of it, and line for line was a great pleasure. And also getting to fight with John, because safely, not because I want to fight with John, but getting to work with John in that way. We've both put a lot of time into try and kind of get that part of our characters into our bodies, and get the training right and everything. And it was really, really fun to, there's a sort of face-off where we circle each other. I think we didn't have much time, so couldn't really giggle, but we were definitely giggling inside with sort of glee at getting to do that together. And John is such a brilliant and charismatic and, you know, subtle and detailed actor that he's just effortlessly cool, and it's brilliant to be, you know, up close to that. You know, my as you say, my performance, there's something kind of epic and, you know, big about Vicious, and next to John, this kind of really subtle little kind of, I don't know, glint in his eye is great to see.
I think getting to that ending is all about knowing where we wanted to go, and I knew we wanted to go there. I felt like the thesis of the season as a storyteller, the North Star, was this is a story of family. This is a story of disparate, broken toys coming together to build a family. People who didn't have other outlets for family and finding a family. And at the end, after we build that family, after we bond, after we bury problems between Jet and Spike and include Faye and bring her in this family, I was like, right at the very end, like life will often do, let's explode this family into a million pieces. Let's give them things that they cannot reconcile, because these are the things that happen in life. And at the end of the day, there is an amazing component of the source material from the canon that Cowboy Bebop is tragic in its storytelling often, and often leads to people making the worst decisions possible, especially our bounty hunters. They make lousy decisions all the time. And I felt like in order to get to a satisfying moment, it was the same choice with Julia. Building to this idea of when Spike and Julia meet, won't they just wrap each other in their arms because they love each other so much, and they'll kiss and life will be great? Well, life is different in those intervening years for the both of them. And it was really those kinds of things that led to the ending that I wanted to have for the season.
What I really love about it is that, you know, the original Bebop was about covering many different genres and being genre blending and stuff like that. And I think what they've done brilliantly with that episode is something that isn't really in the anime, which is this sort of like street gangster film, like a kind of Mean Streetsy type film. And I really love that that's a sort of new bit of voice in this adaptation, which I loved. And as you say, getting to have more comedic, you know, just a light, I mean, it's still dark, but a slightly lighter murder with just a bit of light, playful murder with Spike, and getting to work with John after, you know, being around and training with him for so long was really, really great. And was useful to then sort of think about which bits of the, you know, the current Vicious it really misses that guy, both Spike and the Vicious he was before this shit went down.
I mean, as an actor, I'm hopeful that she's a villain in season 2, because that would be a really fun shift for the character. But I think really at the end, you know, she feels very justified in her decision to act the way that she does, because she's been trapped in this very abusive, horrible situation. She's waiting for this other, you know, she thought that Spike was dead this whole time, and then she finds out that he's alive and he didn't come for her. And I think she just feels really disappointed and left behind. So for me, that turn where she decides to really start taking care of herself was just such a great payoff. And I think now she's, after what happens in the cathedral, I think she's a bit calloused to, you know, both of these guys, and hopefully that means
bit callous. You shoot both of us.
I mean,
it's justified. I mean, it's certainly vicious. But...
yeah, but it would be really nice to have her turn a little bit bad in season 2.
You are nothing more than a dream I needed to wake up from.